And that may not be what we're dealing with, but it's there, and I'm taking that on with the good. Take the good and the bad to deal with things. And sometimes you don't realize. I have friends too that talk about. I have a friend who practices witchcraft, and she'll help people out and do spells for people and things like that, and work with their energy. And she always talks about how you may not realize that you have negative energy. You don't feel it. And that may not be what we're dealing with, but it's there, and I'm taking that on with the good. You're taking on the good and the bad to deal with things, and sometimes you don't realize.
You've been tangled with, yeah. It's a very complex web of crap, like the one I ran into today. This had to do with coding and money and binary and base codes and soul codes and everything. It was just like, it was all over the place, stealing people's energy through numbers and stuff like that. So it was just like, yeah. And it ended up having a hub back on the stock market and all this other stuff. So I had to go and hunt some stuff out. It's like, oh my god. Some of these cases I run into, you just want to like stick a gun to your head afterwards, because it's like it was one of those. Yeah, it was one of those types. Yeah.
So how do you?
We'll be starting in about a minute. Yeah.
Okay. What was that?
How do you recenter? After something.
I just basically close the circle off, and I just sit there for a little bit, and then let everything reground. And it doesn't take me as long. Sometimes I use stones to do it really quickly, like I have the hematite here and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll grab one of them to do it really quickly, but I have to reground. Probably the rest of the day after this, I'll probably go work on an outside project or something and get out in the air and do that.
Right. Okay. And again, like you said, I'm sure it takes less and less time. The more you do it, you become more in tune
more acclimated quicker. Yeah. It's like people deal like deep sea diving and stuff like that, or holy breath longer. It's the same premise. So and stuff like that.
Betty.
Yes.
During this thing, because okay, and the very first co-host I ever had, probably 2 years ago, and that's still some of my top 2 shows. She's very smart, and also she knows some things about our genre,
Okay.
She had an experience with that deal where the car looks like it's going uphill. You can go to certain lakes and it's like that. Then
the mystery spot where the magnetic energy is weird, and they can't quite figure out. They don't know exactly what causes it. I think there's one in California. There's one in the Southwest in the desert somewhere. There's one in Europe.
Oh yeah. I've run into sites like that all over the place where the energy is very strange, where it's an energetic, almost like an illusion that is causing things to do things like that. The gravity is different, the energy flows different. Yeah. I've run into that. Weird. Yeah, very weird. They almost make your stomach turn in some places too. Like, my stomach's flipping over.
It's very true. Yeah. I think people forget how connected to the earth our bodies really are. So.
Yes. Most definitely.
I think that they have that phenomenon at Lake Whitney as well.
Oh, really?
In Texas, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the places that has it.
Okay. Yeah. Even when you mentioned that the name Lake Whitney, I just felt this weird turn, like if you were a pilot in an airplane where you were looking at the horizon and you started to tilt, my senses started to tilt towards the left when you were mentioning that. So yeah. No.
Lake Whitney is a hot spot, and there has been people that have reported they've seen lights under the water. So some people have the idea that it might be a underground, unidentified submerged object, a USO.
USO. That's a new one for me. I've never heard that. If you were going to hide somewhere on the earth, those are all good places.
It's cold down there.
Under the ground, yeah.
You can't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out the Myrmidon actually from the oceans like to use causeways that go through our country, through the continent. that they can stay in there submerged UFOs or USOs and go under through lakes and everything. All these are connected. That's why people find mer people in all these lakes and rivers, because they come in from the oceans and they come in that way.
Well, we know less about our own oceans than we do the universe. People don't realize that. We've studied the universe and space more than we have studied our own oceans. There are so many parts of our own oceans we still.
Oh yeah,
makes sense for sure.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah. And also that little lake you mentioned, I just all of a sudden my third eye just leaned towards it, and I was seeing a ship going underneath there. So there is a submerged object under there, most definitely, a very large one too.
Yeah, there's all kinds of mysterious stuff at Lake Whitney. I think there's strange deaths, maybe suicides or something like that. And that road where the car goes, looks like it should just roll downhill, but it rolls the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep being told Lake Whitney is a causeway or an underwater highway that these spaceships are getting in. But the reason people disappear is spaceships or ships rather that have people that take people and stay in there as well. That's why people disappear and die. There's other stuff going on there. There's energy being taken, everything there. I'm seeing it's like a highway that's running through there. That's what I'm seeing.
Do some of the people that go to these sites, like the national parks, can get abducted or something like that? Do they have like a soul contract? I mean, how can it be right for like a little kid to be abducted to go to another galaxy or whatever?
Sometimes people that enter this form belong to other soul families that are out there that sometimes come to retrieve them.
Wow, I never thought about that.
Wow. So it's not a malicious thing. It's not a malicious thing. It's
sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe I never thought about that.
Yeah, where they belong to it, and that kid's time might have been up in this plane of existence, and their soul family's just taking them. Now that is actually only one component. There are some malicious races that just want to do experiments too, that pop in and pop out before the authorities out there see them too. They do that too.
It seems that they can spend a limited amount of time in our atmosphere. And that was reminiscent of what you just said, popping in and popping out. It goes along with other reports. But John Lamb Lash, talking about the Gnostic texts and stuff, he thinks that they are somehow, our air is they can't breathe it for very long or something.
Yeah, it's like a fish coming out of water to try to just come up in our atmosphere. They can't stay there. There are entities that can't handle our atmosphere. Sometimes they will send in agents, like they'll possess humans to use them like a tank, to walk around, or like a suit to walk around. That's why you see possessions and attachments, because they can't exist outside of us, outside of their environment. So they warp into us and move around that way to try to bounce to other people. That's why I get these body jumping entities all the time that jump from person to person in a neighborhood. And it takes years to ferret them out sometimes. If they get caught in a neighborhood or a city, they're almost impossible to detect after a while, the body jumping ones.
Well, if they're going to different bodies and stuff like that, do the people that are unwitting hosts or whatever, do they just kind of feel like they're just kind of in the zone and they're just relaxed? Or, I mean, they're submissive, or what's their mind doing this whole time?
Actually, it's not necessarily relaxed. Sometimes most of the time it's chaotic. They can be extremely angry, extremely depressed, drained, fatigued. It's rarely is it in a relaxed state, unless they're more in tune with whatever those entities want, unless they are either part of that agenda, or they are, or they're wanting that in some way. Humans aren't blameless in this either. Some people like it.
That's right. Yeah.
That's not something I've ever even thought of. Why would they like that? What would be the upside to that for them?
Humans. Some humans like the dark. They like being in it.
That's fair. Yeah.
I say attention. There's people, especially somebody who maybe didn't feel their particular genius was recognized in school or whatever, or their beauty or whatever, athletic ability.
I mean, I see it as almost as a form of like Munchausen's, where they're able to stay unwell and get attention.
Oh yes. Yeah, I mean they're sick, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen people that just enjoy the dark, and my mother always says, there's just some people that like it. That people aren't blameless in this pact with these different entities at times too. Some people, a lot of people are tricked into it, but then there's that one little grouping of people that go, "Hey, that sounds appealing." Like the call
do
for.
they have to enter? Let something. Do they have to allow this to happen, or can it happen without them knowing?
It's mostly, 99% of the time, I found it's always consent in some fashion that people are oppressed. Either it's a thought form of theirs that was programmed into them in some program somewhere, or it's an actual form of consent in dream time. A lot of dream time manipulation going on, even in the most subtle ways. I found these little subtle ways in dream time. So, a handshake, an object exchanging hands, getting into a vehicle, being harassed in dream time where people are chasing you and you're basically being submissive, like you're being scared of this. You're being submissive to whatever demon's coming after you. I always turn around and beat the crap out of them when I find them, but I turn around
it's very different than the traditional Judeo-Christian view of, any form of body snatching or, soul entering a person's body. It's always seen as this, almost unwittingly it happens, that they can come in without your consent, or the consent, I guess, that's done in, more of a Christian Catholicism to, you've done something against God.
The consent is worship.
Right. Let me tell you, those Mormons, when a boy child has like psychic abilities or maybe some type of abilities like what you got, Christopher, a little boy, he's exalted, he's anointed, and they all gather around him and give him these secret stuff. If a girl, if it happens to, that's of the devil.
Wow.
That's true.
That's separating the feminine right there. They do that. The enemy likes to divide and conquer. So why not defy one and demonize another? And that separates it, divide and conquer. That's another way of getting consent, because the people basically went along with it. They went completely along with it through the worship and through the giving of light, life, and energy. So they went along with it.
They absolutely did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I run into that all the time. We've been preaching on our show for a while now about the dangers of worship and of how it's giving away your energies. Yeah. Yeah,
it's so synchronistic that you bring that up, Christopher, because I just am reading a book by Rudolf Steiner. It's an obscure book that was taken from 16 lectures, and it's talking about maybe the doppelganger or something like that. But basically, it's in electronics. He was basically foresaw the internet and artificial intelligence. He foresaw it. He died in 1924 or something. He's saying there's no getting out of it. It's going to happen. It's how we deal with it and stuff like that. It's going to be the most devastating thing ever, and that the biggest challenge the human race has ever faced. And it's going to be this big mess and everything. And one thing he told me, in this book, he was talking about the Western esoteric brotherhoods, much like this. I don't want to say the order that I'm in, but these type of groups. And it was totally bringing it home to me what you and I had been talking about numerous times, Christopher, because here's what Steiner said: the secret societies want to promote materialism. Because and then you'll just think there is no God or anything like that. You're all material. And then when you die, now the human evolution conditions of consciousness, we're in a point now where the human being, what they think during life is what they come after they die. So we're like actually having some type of control like this. So that's why they have to want to control what we think. Well, if they make these people think that everything is just material and you just, ashes and ashes and dust, their ghost will stay around on the earth. It'll be earthbound much longer than these other ones, just like all these ghosts and stuff that you deal with, Christopher.
Yes.
That was done intentionally, and that the energy of these ghosts can be used later.
Yeah, used as a fuel source. Yeah, some of the
rituals
I was talking about. Yeah, in rituals, energy sources, fuel. Draco like to consume ghosts. Different energies. Aliens like to steal the energies of ghosts. Soul trapping. Also what you were saying about, he was saying about you couldn't get out of the AI. That too is also a trick that he fell for one reason. He put it in print that it's fact.
That's right. And here's another thing. I'm not saying he was a Mason or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we know that Rudolf Steiner was, at least, I can't remember, Rosicrucian, at least.
Yes. So. Yeah. And it's very, interesting when I come across these things. People get these prophetical messages, and it's the AI feeding it to them because they want to solidify a timeline. They want to make something fact that was more loose before.
So how then are we as humans supposed to determine whether our thoughts, beliefs, actions are coming from a positive space or a negative space?
Well, I use the heart space as a Geiger counter. Like if it doesn't feel right, you just don't do it. You become a part of it. Yeah, and I just and I also feel in my chest space, also my head. I noticed I feel if I'm around something that's darker, my chest feels like it's caving in, like I'm being squeezed.
You have to also learn to be attuned to that. I don't think so many people are anymore. They're not in tune to their own, listening to their own bodies.
Yeah, and also if something just doesn't feel right, like if you're entering a situation where you just kind of hesitate for a minute and go, no, I don't think so. That's a way of picking up on it. People don't realize they do that. Everybody's psychic, just on different levels, and it took me a while to get to the stage I'm at. So it was only recently that I felt that chest caving thing. Before, I was just using intuition. And also this goes back to common sense. If you're going into a place of like worship and basically giving your will away to some spooky deity somewhere it's basically an absentee landlord coming in from somewhere, you don't want to why would you give your will away to something like that? Your will and sovereignty are your own. You're a sovereign being. That's common sense at that point. In my opinion, that's definitely common sense. So why would you even read the wording of something that's giving away your will or
Fame
giving
and
away?
Fortune. They sold they might have tried to like that guitar player. They're trying to sell their soul for the a music contract or whatever.
I think it's even less fame and fortune. Sometimes people are just trying to feel better. Feel good, and they don't know how to do it on their own, and it's much easier to give it up to someone
I want to be popular. I want to be liked. I want to be like such and such.
Right.
The popular guy.
I want to feel peace. I think a lot of people do it because they want it. There's a peace for a lot of people of just letting go and submitting to something else, and they don't have to think.
I think that's way easier than what people realize.
Yeah.
You can let something go, but not necessarily give it to somebody else. You just say, you let go of this turmoil or pain or torment or trauma or something like that, and just and replace it with balanced light and all this other stuff. But it doesn't mean that you're exchanging energies with some malevolent, unseen entity or set of entities. You can get away with doing it that way, and it doesn't fuel anything. As long as you're specifying that you're not consenting to anything, you're not exchanging energies, you're not with anything malevolent. Nothing benevolent will make any offers like that or give any messages of death and doom and destruction or anything like that. So that's another way. You just disregard anything that basically promotes doom and destruction.
Well, there are
pretty
people
much
that are suicidal.
all of Western religion right there.
Basically, yes.
That's what the America was founded on. Really, it was fire and brimstone and pain.
And torment and the self punishment and all that other
self-sacrifice,
guilt. You're worthy.
Right? Yeah. People from England came here and said, "Oh, these people over in England are not pious enough, and they're having too much fun. Let's go over here where we can self-flagellate."
Yes. Yeah. I always we always condemn that self-flagellation stuff. It's like, why do you feel you have to be punished? We actually Joanna and I saw a movie the other night. We I'll throw the remote to her. She'll throw the remote to me to pick something, and she found this thing on Netflix that was about this. It was a Halloween-y type movie where it's like this blacksmith had taken on the devil, and stuff like that. And then what he does is there's this scene where they go down into hell. And hell's run by reptilians. I'm seeing Draco all over the place in this movie. Big ones, short ones, little ones with horns, red, green, stuff like that. And they're all reptilians. And what is this gateway? Hell, there's an octagonal shaped thing on the ceiling. That's a friggin' energy collector. I'm like, whoever knew the shape of that knew what they were talking about, even though it was like a campy movie. I'm seeing this going, and every person entering this door is basically saying they're worthless, they deserve to be in pain. Every one of the people going in the door was saying that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this good person, this writer was picking up on something legitimate, even though it was a campy movie.
They probably might not have even been aware of it.
Well, let me tell you that deal what you said about the octagon, because you know, Christopher, how I am about the symbols of the pharaonic dominators. There's this guy that I watched that does a lot of quote unquote exposing of that, but he goes to Switzerland and gets in all trouble. He's an he's got a shady past. He's been a mercenary and stuff. Sean Ross, but it's spelled with a V. But he goes octagon, octagon. But yeah, like a stop sign. That's big one of their signs. And you've noticed, Christopher, these, and I guess you're talking about the power, the soul collectors. Instead of being an obelisk, which is 4 sides, they have these battlements, on some of their forts and stuff like that are 8 sides.
Yes, yeah.
So
it has with like 4s and 8s. There is important for like 3 as well. Triangle. That's another form that I see quite a bit. That I've even been hit with, from alien abduction stuff. On my left shoulder here, I have a triangular formation that was put here on my back, and even on my face right here, there was a wound that appeared that has a triangle. I don't know if you can see the wound on my face a little bit here. I got hit with
that.
Yeah, right here. I got hit with a scalar wave not too long ago that hit me and started to affect my face, and it took the form of a triangle on my face.
That sounds like so scalar.
Yeah, and then it triggered a memory in me of all doing. I've been bringing up memories lately of all the MyLab stuff that I've been involved in, and all the SSP stuff I'd been involved in. And the memory that came up after that was I was in a ship where there was a reptilian that was actually spitting at me, and it was hitting this spot on my face. And my body was starting to manifest the wound that had taken place in those times. My body was creating a phantom scar, and the scalar wave was igniting it.
Wow. So these phantoms, they can take on. You can create a human being can create the phantom, and then it can charge it up inadvertently with maybe being afraid of it or something.
Oh yeah. Like any of the scars that come loose, like any energies that you encounter, even natural Earth energies can spark some of these memories that come up. Like either solar energy can do it as well, because if you're getting the AI that's causing the blockage, like the sun will do that. Like solar activity will do that, Earth activity will do that, natural evolutionary things will do that, even people's higher frequencies will do that. Memories start to come forward, and then all of a sudden these scars will start to appear because you're starting to relive that second in which you were getting wounds and stuff like that. So things will start to appear on you, and that's where this came from. It took almost like a psoriasis sort of mark to it, but it became a triangle after a while. I haven't been with this to completely go away, but so there's probably other stuff that I have to look into to get it to vanish. But yeah, on my left shoulder, there's like a triangle formation on my left shoulder I had since I was hurt, and it's really strange. It feels creepy, but like if somebody would touch it like this grouping, there's like these dots that form this triangle, and it's just really creepy on that shoulder.
So is that something that you feel like you have to, reach back in and figure out what's causing that? To figure out
I did that in a session I did. I found out it was a binding to something that was more ancient. It was like further back in my lifetimes where I had entered this expression. Basically, there was a bad thread and a good thread. The good thread was the original soul mission. The bad thread was trying to yield to some of the bad guys so they didn't find out I was coming in to actually screw their system up, And these markings were because of that particular binding, or what they considered a contract. That's where some of the soul contract stuff comes from. There's these threads, these dark threads, that were woven into people's actual soul mission, sometimes so vastly different, people mistake the dark thread for the soul mission instead of the actual soul mission itself. But when you start revoking and getting rid of all this junk, which is what this time frame was meant for, this better energetic time frame, some of these people like myself and other people that were from different timelines, different expressions, and different parts on actually they were different timelines. came in to try to correct what these bad guys were doing, they figured they could hide within that system and basically start to infiltrate it and weed out all this programming. And then by the time this time came around, it could all be revoked and extracted. And these bad guys don't like that. They want to be in control forever, but we've gotten into an energetic point where that's not possible for them to do anymore.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or accepting a prognosis from a doctor. You know, the doctor gives you so much to live, so many months. Fuck that, man. That's where you got to start right there and break off from that narrative.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's beneficial to all these beings to keep us down, to keep us afraid, to keep us feeling like we are powerless and we have to give power over to something or someone else, right?
Yeah, so they can just keep filling up their gas tank on us, you know, or with our juice or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly what they sound like as parasites. Yeah. You know. Oh, so they like deploy them out almost like honeybees to do their bidding, and they come back to a central area. And interesting.
Christopher, you mentioned meditating and, you know, different techniques and stuff like that. So I think this might be a good time to tell the viewers about the lifting, your website, and the different services that y'all have there. And of course, we'll flash the information across the screen. Yeah, and Christopher, of course, I've been to your site, and I've also been to the Etsy site. It's very intuitive and very like user friendly and everything like that. I do want to ask you about this Hairy Man Road, but what I was getting, and I just feel, we covered so much already, but I also kind of feel like we're just getting warmed up. But what I was going to bounce the idea off, if you would think about like taking about a 5 or so minute break, and then I want to come back and ask you about the Hairy Man Road over here in Brown Rock. Awesome. Let's see. And I'm going to see what I have to drink, Laura. But I know that we have water.
I have water too. If I
oh, you have water? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've got this.